Hello and welcome to episode 297 of the Crate and Crowbar, a PC gaming podcast. Today is the 2nd of October 2019, and I'm Marsh and I'm joined by
Tom Francis
and
Alex Wiltshire.
Has there been any gaming news, guys?
No.
No.
Alex is in denial. If you count games being announced and shown, then yes, because Teardown was announced, which is a game I've been following without knowing what it is or what it's called for many years, by a guy whose name I believe is Dennis Gustafsson. And he's been posting for a long time GIFs of some kind of game-like project in which the world is made of voxels and everything is destructible. And he'll just be showing like smashing down a wall. And he's also has ray tracing lighting, and volumetric fog and volumetric lighting and all this really fancy tech. It's his own engine. And previously he'd only really shown just tech stuff. Like, look, you can smash this. If you smash this building while light is streaming in, something else is on fire and the smoke is catching the light and the destructing stuff is changing the shape of those god rays and all this stuff. It all works perfectly. And to my enormous surprise, he's announced the game that this is for. And it's a really intelligently scoped, manageable, achievable game that makes the most of this destruction tech without being sort of a sprawling, overambitious mess.
Because the destruction tech is like absolute, isn't it? Like everything can be blown into.
Yeah.
But not just blown up, it becomes like a physics-enabled mesh in the world. It doesn't just stick to the voxel grid.
Yeah, exactly. And it has incredibly advanced physics things like, he showed a video recently where he shot the base of a telegraph pole that's connected to others by wires, and then attached the dangling pole to a truck, drove the truck away to increase the tension in the wires, and then disconnected it to launch the pole into a building. And that all just works with his physics system. And, he tweeted stuff about like, when he's showing off the volumetric lighting stuff, he says, I should be working on gameplay, but it's so much fun to figure out all these lighting things. And that is a classic line from the kind of programmer who left to their own devices will never release anything because they will just get
See, now I understand your relief. Like I was wondering, why is Tom sounding so relieved about this? Like, it looks great. Like, and I'm sure he's pleased about that, but there's something that you're actually kind of going, oh, thank God.
Yeah, there's a programmer mindset that is, and it's usually brilliant programmers who have this problem where they're so, it must be like when you have that kind of brain and you can just make a volumetric lighting system in your own custom engine. I'm sure it is fun. I'm sure it's fascinating. And all the problems you solve, if you have the kind of brain that can solve them, it's probably really satisfying and challenging. And programmers like that tend to go down rabbit holes forever because there's always more to do and there's always more ways you can expand it. And that's usually the opposite mindset to like a very practical game designer / producer kind of role where you are looking at scope and you're looking at achievability and you're looking at how much progress you've made so far and are you any closer to actually finishing this thing. And the game he's announced that uses this tech is like I say, remarkably simple and controlled and measured, and it seems to me like a good system to make use of this tech. So you enter a sort of like a map with several buildings in it, and when you enter, you're in a sort of sandbox phase where there will be 4 or 5 key cards somewhere in this level, and eventually you're going to have to take them all. But as soon as you take any one of them, it's going to start a countdown, which is 60 seconds in the trailer we showed. And so before you take any of them, what you want to do is create shortcuts between them so that you can get between all of these different key cards as quickly as possible. And they're like mounted on the wall. They're not going to do anything until you manually pick them up. So you're safe to kind of test out routes and try running around this place. And so you use this destruction technology to smash down walls. One of the examples he showed was like shooting or breaking the supports for some pipes to make them kind of buckle and fall so that they create a ramp so that you can get up to the second floor of this building where there's this other key card. And basically breaking parts of the existing level, repositioning others. You can kind of create wooden boards wherever you like to make those kinds of ramps. And getting ready, and then you just take the key cards in whatever order you need to and run past all these shortcuts you've made and get out of the level before the countdown expires. And he didn't specifically say this, but I assume you're also rated on how fast you did it. So there's more than just getting out of it within 60 seconds. You're probably going to be looking at like, okay, my friend did it in 35 seconds. How the hell did he do that? What does his build look like? And yeah, that just seems like a really smartly designed game that I can see how that would make you engage with all this technology that is created for it, in a way that's interesting, that hasn't been done before. But it also, I completely believe he'll make and finish this game. That seems like all he's got to do now is just make a bunch of these arenas with a bunch of key cards in different places, and those are levels. And that's the hard part. I mean, if he was pitching this as like a Word document with nothing done yet, and he said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to build my own engine, and it's going to be completely voxels, and everything's going to be physics, and it's going to have volumetric lighting and smoking." I think, fucking hell, you're not going to do that. But he's done that part. The really difficult part's done. He's going to make a few levels now.
I wonder if you can sort of surgically remove the keycards from their wall sockets and then just punt them across the level to a single location and then pick them all up.
I would bet that as soon as they become sort of detached from the location, that's what starts the countdown. Like, you probably do it, but you've started it now.
Yeah. Yeah, that looked really good. Also, Microsoft Flight Simulator also looks really good.
Yeah, that's surprising.
Well, it's being made by Asobo, who are a storied, I think they're a French outfit.
Yeah, that's right.
A storied open world, procedurally generated open world outfit they've made.
Wow. About that, because they only came out with a game about 4 months ago, because they made a Plague Tale as well.
Oh, did they?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What?
And that is it's very tech-led.
Showcase.
I had no idea that was them.
Yeah, but it's a linear story game.
Oh wow, okay, they've really diversified. I mean, I can't remember what they did before Fuel. I think they did a number of different projects before then as well.
I remember this. I did write about it years ago.
But then they made Fuel, which is a racing game. I think Ubisoft published it. Was it? Or somebody?
Yeah,
I
think so. I think you're right.
Maybe it's Codemasters. I can't remember. Anyway, but it was a open world racing game. It was kind of a duff racing game by the standards of anybody who likes racing games. I don't like racing games, and I really love Fuel because it was set across the entirety of America, a condensed version, but procedurally generated, and civilization has fallen basically, and it's just these kind of rolling, beautiful natural landscapes that take in all the kind of picture perfect postcard views of America.
It's like it was only procedure generated in the sense that sort of the land was permanent, wasn't it? Like it's a set map that you're on, isn't it?
Yeah, it's generated from a seed. Yes,
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But it was really a stunningly beautiful game, and kind of hyper realistic. Really, lots of amazing sort of nightscapes where for some reason the sky is lit in this kind of virulent color and a beautiful gradient, and then the landscape picked out in silhouette. But obviously they've applied some of that learning to making the entirety of the world in Microsoft Flight Simulator, which is based on
using?
Bing Maps.
Bing Maps.
Yeah, I know that sounds so stupid to say that, but apparently they, Microsoft can pay for satellites.
Got 3D information, is it? Like in the way that Google Maps has.
They have an AI layer to generate that. I'll have you know, that uses machine learning. Like the sort of technical execs at Microsoft must have been fucking frothing at the mouth at the idea of announcing this, because it's just all their key buzzwords. It's like,
does something on Azure as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. Uses Bing and Azure, two services they're constantly trying to pimp, but are frequently not that useful in themselves. And it uses machine learning and AI and all this stuff to read satellite data and sort of guess which things are buildings and what kind of models to use for those and stuff. And that's the way I understand it, is that's all kind of already happened on their server. Like that's a process that's been done already. It's not happening live as you play the game. But then what is happening live as you play the game is, it's streaming that data in from their Azure server.
I think it's also
cloud, let's say.
Filling the gaps as well, right? With, appropriate grains of sand, etc.
What if you go, what if there's a place in the world where the machine learning has gone megalomaniacal?
Well, actually.
And it's sort of like a yawning hellmouth.
I would bet, like, the places they showed flying over was, America, and people were able to, like, one guy, the guy whose video I watched, he is a pilot, and, so was able to speak to the accuracy and stuff of a lot of the stuff, but also he, chose as a starting point an airfield that's near his house, and then, once he took off, followed the roads that he would take to drive to that airfield, and found his house. And his house actually had an individual model that he could recognize as his own.
And there's me, but that's not my wife.
But I bet.
What am I doing? Why is there a dead dog in my arms?
But I bet there are other areas of the world that are not as accurate. I don't know this, but it's a classic.
It's going to be really, really, really good for the Seattle area, and fuck the rest of the world.
This is what happens with things like Google Maps, and if you want to see your city in 3D and you live in SF or Seattle, you can absolutely do that. If you live in Bath, I don't think you can. So I don't know what it's like in
the stringent copyright laws on replicating buildings and cityscapes in Europe. So I don't know.
I wonder if the AI gets around that. Well, we didn't replicate it. Some fucking AI made it up.
We made it up.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I like the idea of procedurally generated existential tragedies, though. That sounds like a good idea.
The thing is, Asobo, they, I can see them working that in, because there is often something quite disturbing about what they make.
You
like
fly over your house and there's just a hearse and they're loading your body into it.
Well, yeah, because fuel has like an undercurrent of quite glowering weirdness.
It's dystopia. It's an environmental catastrophe that has consumed the world. I mean, it's quite ahead of its time. Everybody, knows that this is what's going to happen now. But back when fuel was released, people weren't really thinking about climate change.
There was still some hope left back then.
Yeah, I know. We burnt through that, though. So that's good.
And Plague Tale takes great delight in plague pits and kind of mounds of bodies and rats and stuff.
I'm going to guess that Microsoft said to them, look, none of your fuel shit, none of your Plague Tale shit. We don't want to see any weird...
It's Azure and Bing, and that's all you get. That's as dystopian as you get.
France is just rats now.
Having machine learning make up what the world is kind of dystopian in its own way.
There is another bit of news.
What's that?
That Destiny done come out on the Steam.
Oh yeah.
And along with the new update.
Mm-hmm. My Steam activity feed is a bunch of 10 people all saying has played Destiny for the first time, and then a couple of people with 13 achievements, all of which seem to be the same achievements. Yeah. They all got all at once, which I guess might be like a character import thing. Maybe
because you can import your account that you've played already on console or Battle.net, so it just imports all the achievements you got on them. But I started it last night, but I didn't start it because the servers kind of blew up, of course. But I did get into a game for very briefly before it kind of booted me out. I felt really quite nervous about starting it because I got back into it kind of quite obsessively. I don't know, Christmas time. I think I was talking about it on the pod at the time.
Have you ever played it on PC before?
No, right. No. And so I think it might. I think I was experiencing it's like a sense of kind of, here we go then. this is it then.
Sorry, what actually happened? Did it come to Steam for the first time, or was it
So this is the first time it's been on Steam. So it's no.
So it was already out on PC.
Yeah, it was on
Blizzard.
Yeah.
Yes, this is post their weird breakup with.
Post going independent. Yeah. And so actually I think for anyone who's been playing on Battle.net, there's not going to be anything different because it's still playing on your PC but there's a new expansion with it. But Steam being bigger and that sort of thing, it means, and now it's free to play as well. Like there are enormous part of the game is now free. You won't play any of the new stuff, and I think that you'll probably be constantly reminded that you don't own kind of the new stuff, but you have infinite hours of game.
I did see somebody say that they level you up so fast through the free stuff that it's to the detriment of it.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
I don't know. I can't speak to the truth of that, but yeah,
I mean, it's a funny one because leveling is kind of weird in the sense that you kind of just, the shooting always feels nice, So, and all you really are aware of is that you can't damage some, if creatures, if they're too enemies, if they're too over leveled. So that might feel good, but then you might feel like it's just pushing you through it. Like quick, play the new stuff. But it's, oh god, it's too nice to go back to, especially when it's playing at fucking 60 hertz and things. And when you go to the menu, it's got this lovely menu system where like you see your 3D self, and all of your items have got like a picture of them, and then you can hover over them and you can see everything else in the inventory for that slot, and you're constantly looking around things, and then you press triangle on it, and then you can go in and you can see a lovely 3D model of that particular gun, and it's beautiful, and there's flavor text, but you go into the menu a fucking lot. You have to, partly because you're getting new stuff and you've got to check it out, but also because it has this really idiosyncratic sort of mission and quest system where it's half kind of in the world and you're picking up stuff, and part very, very abstract kind of RPG kind of like, now you've got something in your menu that you've got to go and look up to see what you've got to do. And there are loads of just so many ways of having quests. So sometimes, you've gone into a menu and somebody, and an item pop, you pick up an item and now this item has turned into a quest item, which then tells you the next steps you've got to do. Sometimes you've talked to a character and now you have a quest. And this is all in a part of the menu system that I forgot where it is, and it took me ages to find it. And you're constantly, now how many have I got to kill of those things? And how far have I got it? And how many steps have I got to go along here? And where do I have to go for that thing? And on a PS4, it is excruciating because there's about, I would say, a 5-second wait to wait for your menu to fully pop in.
Oh God.
And then when you navigate to another kind of page of menu where it keeps all the quests, then also the quests are now in a menu where you have to hold down a button for a few seconds because where the map is. And then you've got to scooch over to another thing. And oh God.
Couldn't it be loading while it's doing that hold down thing? Like, we think the user wants to go into the menu. Let's start loading it now so that when we confirm.
The thing is, it's also opulent. All the menus are so opulent. It's got to load the first menu.
It's got to unload
and
the
then
whole
it's got to load
world.
the next menu, yeah.
But you like this game, right?
Oh, it's the best.
Right,
it's
okay.
the best.
Just
on
checking, 'cause
PC,
it sounds awful.
but on PC, bam, like those menus come up
right,
immediately, and like, oh my God, I can check things immediately. I mean, it's still a pain in the ass, but who cares? Because it's Destiny, and I'm back on the moon, and the moon. I felt quite nostalgic.
So the wizards there.
So it's where the wizards are. The moon is one of the settings of the original Destiny, which now I realise was like bloody ages ago, like 2013, I think it came out. Was it?
Oh, wow.
Something like that. So it's kind of quite a long time ago, and it brought me back to the first beta, and me and Tim Edwards. So they just opened this big sort of, I can't remember what they're called now. There's like a big open area that you can kind of just wander around and sort of shoot stuff in. Yeah, it's kind of like a hub. It's like, it's this open exploration area.
The Nexus.
The Nexus. and they're really sprawling, and they were, for the time, it was a really big area, and like, not a lot of shooters were doing that kind of contained and yet
What does it feel
expansive.
like now with hindsight? Is it like a room?
Well, no, not at all. No, it's awesome still. But back then it was amazing. And me and Tim Edwards were wandering around and exploring, and we accidentally went into the Hellmouth.
That happens.
And we got stuck in the Hellmouth because it must have been some sort of bug, because a door was open and we went in the door and then we never found our way back out again. And we were kind of like giggling to each other, like just sort of like, it was just brilliant because you just felt like forbidden, and also these chambers and tunnels just go on for hours and hours. It felt so mysterious and weird.
Just to check, there is literally a place called the Hellmouth.
Yes,
okay.
It's literally the Hellmouth. It's the Hellmouth on the moon where the wizard came from. And I got to go back there, and I wandered into it, and it's one of those, the ways that games go back to places after time, and they change a few things, and it feels sort of, you kind of remember that was not like that before, and now it's like this, and it's like, they're still here, but then everything's a little bit changed. It's a nice feeling of nostalgia to go back to the moon.
This reminded me of, I haven't been back to WoW with the classic thing, but way back when, exploring zones that we shouldn't really be in WoW, just that thing of stumbling into like, oh shit, this is a level 55 area and we are level 12. I remember figuring out, I think me and Craig Pearson did that for a while in maybe the Night Elf zone when we were Horde, and so we were like out of our depth in the level sense, and also in, it wasn't our area. And then I can't remember where this was, it was somewhere else, I think. I got killed exploring a high level area, and then you respawn as a ghost and you've got to go and find your body and stuff. And you can run around as a ghost and still explore basically anywhere. There's no restriction where you can go, but everything's tinted blue. And I found a way to go into the graphics options and sort of pretend I had a worse graphics card than I had, so that it would disable all the death effects. And then just basically go back to a full color version of World of Warcraft. And then I can just run out as a ghost and no one can touch me, and I can explore the whole place. But something weird happens when you do that, in that it feels like not everything spawns in. I don't think I'm seeing all of the other players who would normally be there. The world was really strangely empty and nothing was really happening in it, which is strange.
Oh, it's good. Yeah, it's good. It does feel good to feel forbidden in online games.
It's a good MMO feeling.
Yeah. And we didn't, and the best thing was about the Hellmouth kind of thing was we weren't sure whether it was a problem or not.
The problem that we're in the Hellmouth.
Then we can't get out of the Hellmouth. Didn't want to switch it off as well. But yeah, it's just, and I was really surprised by how, I mean, I have played a lot of hours on the moon, you know, in the subsequent years after Destiny 1 came out, but I was still surprised how well I knew it and where, you know, each of its features were quite emblazoned. I mean, partly because, you know, it's from a company that is really good at making video game spaces. So, you know, they are very distinctive areas, you know, just the shapes of buildings and kind of the configurations of forms and shapes and pathways is really emblazoned, and it's real good. And also, but now they're a lot more confident in their storytelling, which is,
oh dear.
Is that, I think I take delight in it. I think that Martin, you would hate it.
Martin finds it easy to believe.
Because it comes across as them taken quite seriously, but I don't think they take it as seriously as it sort of comes across.
Mm-hmm. Not as seriously as Chris and Rich McCormick take it.
Yeah. So there's this character called Erin Morn. She is a human, and she has a blindfold on, and under the blindfold there are 3 green lights. A bit like Sam Fisher. Kind of
Sam
weird.
Fisher's newest disguise.
But then kind of black goo constantly dribbles down her and from beneath the bandage, you know, the blindfold, and down her cheeks. And she is a very gnomic emo.
Emo gnomic.
She because she was trapped in the Hellmouth like me and Tim Edwards were. She went a bit doolally. And at some point in the past thing in the story, we saved her, and she's gone back to the Hellmouth. And which means
what did we just say? Come on.
So she's getting.
Do you want to get 3 weird bleeding eyes? Because that's how you get 3 weird bleeding eyes.
So she's getting to be very Eris Morn about things, which is actually I found quite fun. Marsh, you're not going to like it. Okay. And then there's other story stuff where, they are quite succinct, but there's a sort of like a swagger to it. Yeah. So, but I'm only a day in now, so we will see.
I heard that there's a t-shirt that you can only buy if you do like all of the quests in a certain season.
Oh yeah.
You heard about this?
Yeah.
Because Cardo on the Waypoint podcast he's got it every season until the latest one, and he missed out on some of the quests for it, and so they were talking about it as if it's a t-shirt you get as a reward for doing this stuff, and then it came out in the discussion that you have to buy it still. You should pay like $30 for it or something.
Yeah, it just gives you the right to buy.
You earn the honor of buying some merchandise.
I don't even know how one finds the time for all that. I don't think I'm a very efficient player. I'm kind of I don't really play with other people very much, and I just sort of noodle around and not really work the efficiencies of how you might grind things as kind of efficiently as you can. But like, I've seen the lists that you need to do for those kinds of things, and they are, oh goodness, there's a lot to do, a lot to do. And that's just one area of the game as well. If you want some of the weapons, there are great big grinding quests to do there as well. But it's all good.
Sounds exhausting. It sounds exhausting primarily because I know I'd love to look at all of those meticulously made 3D models and slowly rotate them in a menu.
Yeah, they're lovely.
Yeah. It's a terrible, terrible thing that they've done.
No, but well, I think it's just, you know, it just comes, I mean, I play because it feels good, you know, It feels lovely. It's just this constant, but it's supported by these rewards, and yes, they're empty rewards really, but like, fuck it. Yeah. I'm enjoying it and I'm relaxed when I'm playing it, so.
I'm looking forward to, I'll get back in. I'll play it a bit with you. I'd like to play a Bungie shooter again. In fact, they said they're going to make another game.
Oh, that's right.
That's the other bit of news.
That's a bit of news.
They said they're going to release another game. Was it by
2025?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that is news, isn't it? They're going to make another game.
God, I hope
it's such fucking vague news, and that's like, I don't know, it's 6 years away. In 6 years' time, we might make a non-Destiny game.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Destiny sounds so appealing to me in certain respects, and I'm absolutely abhorrent in others. And I know I'd get into it in certain ways, but those are that's me giving into weakness in certain respects. You know, I think I hope that they make games which aren't, you know, on that Destiny model again. Yeah. On that extremely lucrative model.
They've had, it's funny to watch as an outsider because there have been times when it just seemed like such a fucking disaster. Like Destiny 1 launched to like 60% reviews, and it slowly clawed its way into people's, lives, and people became obsessed with it, and they fixed a load of stuff and they made it better and better. And then, but it had some deep-seated problems. Then Destiny 2 came out, fixed all those problems, and people fucking hated it. Like, oh, how have you done this? Oh, you've ruined it. You fucked it up. It was good. Now you fucked it up. And that's sort of slowly clawed it. And in the background of all of this, I guess it's just been making an insane amount of money, because I think I heard it's like one of the most successful shooter franchises ever now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about it before, I think, and the reasons why it has failed are so fascinating, in the ways that it had problems, where things that were identified as problems about, as you said, about Destiny 1, they tried to fix it for Destiny 2, and then it turned out people don't want that. Like,
there was a reason it was broken that way.
Yeah. It's as if you shouldn't really listen to what people want, because it's not what they want.
It sounds like prime fail forward candidate, Marsh.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You only have to play about 150 hours before you'll get what you need. What else has been played?
Actually, sorry for breaking linear time, but I want to jump quickly back to Flight Simulator, because we talked about the tech stuff, but I wanted to say it looks fucking amazing. That's the real news for me, is like, I haven't really been interested in this series before. My dad was really into it, and I never really saw the appeal of just like flying around the world. When the world is like a flat texture just kind of painted on from, even when it was satellite imagery and it sort of looked a bit like the world from a certain distance. This now has crossed some threshold where it just looks so nice. Yeah. Like, I won't say, it's not like, it'd be stupid to say like photorealistic, because it isn't. You can tell it's not real, but it's crossed some threshold now where I could just look at this and enjoy looking at this. Yeah. It's with nothing else going on.
The problem I think it's going to have is that, it's going to attract a whole new audience, which is not really a bad problem in some ways, but the appeal of previous Flight Simulator games was that you wanted to fly a plane. Yeah. And I don't want to fly a plane, but I do want to look at things from above, And, if this is a looking at things from above game, then that's great. But if you have to learn how to take off, I'm completely boned.
I think
I'm never going to take off.
I heard this one has, I don't know the specifics, but, apparently there is, for like takeoff procedures, the sort of checklist that you have to do before you take off in a plane. There's, a fully manual mode where you just have to know how to do that. There's a guided mode where it will point out each thing you need to do in order, sort of on your, on the cockpit
press
controls.
C, press F,
and then there's
and
there's a fully automatic mode where it just does it all for you. So I'm hoping, right. That was only talking about this one procedure. I'm hoping that sort of philosophy goes throughout it, that there's some kind of noob mode I can just enable where I don't need to know anything about planes.
Well, I haven't played Microsoft Flight Sim since about 1990 something, but it always did have a kind of, have a fun mode.
Did it?
Wings you would fall off. I remember wings falling off, I think. But like, you can switch off the reality, the realism settings.
That's the thing. The video I watched was by, like I say, by someone who flies in real life, and who was obsessive and meticulous about all these, like, air physics and how clouds are modeled and how many layers of cloud there are.
There's actual humidity being simulated in the game.
Right. And every, like, surface on the plane being individual model and all this stuff. But he never once mentioned, like, what's it like when you crash? I want to see, like, when you crash, does it fall apart in a really satisfying way? Because that's what, like, normal people do when they play Flight Simulator.
If you crash into your own house, you die.
Real life.
Yeah.
And another thing that really made me laugh is, like, I don't know what plane this guy's flying, because I don't know enough about planes to tell from the inside, but it has this obviously, like, perfectly modeled cockpit and everything. It's exactly like a real plane. And on that cockpit, like on a smaller plane, like no, I won't say a type of plane because I might be wrong. On a small plane, you'll have like a dial. It's almost like a speedometer thing, but it's just showing the horizon, and it's just like literally like a physical picture with a line across it, and the picture rotates according to some, I guess, like physics inside it. And then on a more advanced plane, you have a digital screen that has a sort of basically a very crude flight simulator showing you how your plane is, basically showing a very simplified version of the world around you, so that even if there's fog or something, you can see where the ground is, you can see what you would be seeing. But those in a real plane are running some very basic flight simulator, and it looks just like Flight Simulator 1. So it's hilarious playing like the latest Flight Simulator and just basically have Flight Simulator 1 running in your cockpit.
A little kind of instance that was all emulated.
Simulation is now so good that we can't really see what's going on the ground, so we need Flight Simulator 1 to tell us what it really looks like.
What have you been playing, Tom?
I had played a bit of What the Golf, which I mentioned last week. It launched on Apple Arcade, and at the time it was only on Apple Arcade. Now it's also on PC, on the Epic Store, I think. and it's a golf game for people who hate golf, which means it doesn't actually feature any particularly golf-like modes. It's been at every show I've been to for years, and it shows brilliantly because it looks like a golf game, and then the first thing you do, I think maybe the very first course kind of is just golf, but then, and you just whack the ball towards the hole, and then when you complete that, the next course you try and whack the ball towards the hole, and your whole human just flies towards the hole in ragdoll physics, and then you realize that's what you're controlling this time. You're just like nudging your corpse around basically to get that in the hole, and then like in a couple of levels time you do it, and the charge meter for your shot, that's what flies forward when you release. And then like there'll be a level where you just have 600 golf balls, and there's levels where it's side on and you have a grappling hook, and there's levels where it has the portals from Portal. There's a whole chapter of super hot levels where time only moves when your ball does.
Oh wow.
That's amazing.
The football levels are really good, where you are a football, instead of a hole there's a goal, but there are players on the pitch that are just trying to stop you getting to the goal. And you still have the same charge meter as you do with a golf ball, but you can use it any time. So you can just, constantly click it to adjust your course and to try and get away from these footballers who are trying to kick you off the course. And that's amazing. Like being the ball in a game where all the footballers are enemies is a fascinating game format.
I think have you been playing the extra, each level has 3, 2 alternatives, doesn't it?
Yeah, bizarrely.
Yeah.
It has
like
a meta game.
3 times as many levels as you think it has.
Yeah. And so between levels now you go back to like a lab, and the lab has different regions, and each region has a theme, and all the within the lab there's just holes, and you go into a hole and that takes you a different course that has a different mechanic. But there's a whole football region of the lab, and then there's a whole cars and exploding barrels region of the lab. Like that's a unified theme, just cars and exploding barrels. All these levels will be about cars and or exploding barrels. In some of them you are a car, in some of them you are an exploding barrel. And then something I'm not 100% sold on is you need to finish all those levels to unlock the next region. Like you have to complete every course within that. And I've had a couple where one's just annoying. I'm just dying all the time. And getting reset, and I just kind of want to skip it and move on. And it doesn't feel like this game is really meant to be about challenge, and I don't want to be stuck on a level. But yeah, as you say, there's then, there's 3 like tiers of it. Like the signaling of what these are is weird. There's like a crown symbol. The word par is used, and then I don't know. Like
they seem to change completely. Like they're just sort of 2 different riffs on it. But you kind of, right. I was expecting them to be in kind of like, here's a harder version, but then they're just like 2 different riffs on the idea that was established in the first.
Yeah, like I think there was one where there's like a series of Mario themed levels where you're basically controlling a platformer character, but with the same charge bar that you would to launch a golf ball. So you're just controlling their jumps. And then one of those, the sort of advanced version was that now there's a football falling from the sky, and a goal, and I've got to jump my character so that I basically head the ball into the goal before it falls off the map.
Yeah. And it's like, it's amazingly consistently surprising as well. Kind of every level. What is the thing?
Yeah. And that's the best bit of it is like before you take your first shot, you see the setup, it's giving you loads of clues. If you really sat down and thought about it, you might be able to guess what it's going to do. But the fun of it is just like,
you draw back a power thing.
Yeah.
What's going to go flying? Yeah. That's good. I played the history of
Cricket Through the Ages.
Cricket Through the Ages, which is by
Free Lives,
yeah, which is funny. Like it's
the people behind Broforce, right?
Yeah. And it's very it's short and sweet, but it's really fun.
What is I haven't heard it.
It's kind of like Quappy in the sense that you are controlling humans in general with kind of single touch controls with and you got up against another person. I played with my son, and basically you've got the voiceover saying about the history of cricket. And it starts with dinosaurs.
Man was being savaged by dinosaurs until cricket was invented. And you just spin up your arm and throw a rock at the dinosaur. And
so you're basically, to the bowler has an arm, like you hold down the button and then the arm spins around, and you've got to let go at the point where the ball's, if you hit the other person, you win. The other person is probably going to be a dinosaur. And it's got this sort of sprung legs, so they kind of get tensed when you press the button. When you release, they kind of spring, and you're kind of walking, kind of bouncing towards it, and you'll gore them if they don't throw the ball at you. And it's basically that through history, and it is very funny,
including like a World War II chapter. At some point, I don't know if this is where this features in the single player campaign, but there's a version of that where you're the queen trying to knight people by spinning a sword, and you inevitably end up cutting their head off. And then I think there's like a free-form multiplayer mode where you can kind of mix and match that. So
yeah, there's loads of there's another big old chunk that gets unlocked, isn't it? But yeah, it turns out that Apple Arcade is like a hotbed of fucking fun.
Yeah, it's a really good fit for that shit. Because I think if you bought it,
yeah,
almost even at like $5, you still might have thought you were going to get something that you weren't going to get because it's weird. It's like in a lot of ways, I watched it being played at Fantastic Arcade in just like 10 minutes start to finish, and it just had the room in hysterics the whole time, and and it was being played live, and it's a physicsy game, so things unfold differently. Like, it's not as like it was all canned and pre-made jokes or anything. It was just the physics are inherently funny, and then the theming is just really well paced and delivered. And at the end of it, wasn't necessarily left with a huge desire to sort of go and play the freeform mode or get competitive with my friends about it or anything. It was just like, okay, I've had the experience now. It was amazing, but it's a unusual
feels like
thing.
we're in a second golden age, well, probably the first golden age really of comedy games, in as much as people, prior to maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, prior to jazz punk maybe, like everybody's go-to comedy game was still Monkey Island.
Yeah.
I mean,
I guess Portal as well was a big milestone one. And that hasn't been imitated. Or
that was still mostly reliant on a witty script, where it now feels like, I mean, there were jokes about the mechanics in it, but it was reliant on a narrator to juxtapose those mechanics with some aspect of the script. Whereas now it feels like a lot of the comedy is actually coming from the actual physical interactions in the world.
Yeah. Well, like,
I think, I feel like
things.
That's been in the past. Maybe there's been a sort of, we've had the two polar opposite ends of the spectrum. So there's the Portal way where the script has to be funny for it to be funny at all. And there's the Goat Simulator way where it was all physicsy and it's just lol, look how bad this is.
Yeah.
And Surgeon Simulator I think was similar. And then like something like Goose Game feels like it's somewhere in between where it's
the physics interactions are still chaotic, but they're all actually legitimate within that world.
Yeah. And a lot of the humor is crafted in some way. Yeah. And it's like they created this funny situation for you.
Well, yeah, like the Goose Game is very sort of, what's it? Sim, like thief, immersive sim. Sorry. Yeah. Immersive sim, but like immersive sims were always funny once you kind of peeled away the kind of like the thematic stuff and you were playing levels freely. Like, like the way that you played Deus Ex, basically, Tom. And so yeah, Goose seems to be riffing on that kind of affordance. But then like the Goat Simulator thing where, oh, lol, isn't it terrible sort of thing. I'm glad that's kind of been replaced by these physics games that aren't terrible. Like, then it's not terrible physics.
Yeah, no, it's
just funny physics
for the physics within the game in a slapstick way rather than just allowing the physics to break in a slapstick way.
Yeah.
Do you see that? I don't even know if this is Bennett Foddy's Getting Over It, or sorry, Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy. Is that a comedy game?
Well, in that it's a big joke on the player.
Yeah.
But it is, I mean, it is funny. It is funny, I think.
Because obviously like QWOP is a comedy game and to some extent GURP as well. And anyway, I thought of that because there was it's got a new world record speedrun now, 75 seconds. And you hear that and think, wow, how is that possible? And you watch and think, of course that's possible. Like, it's not a long game, it's just very, very difficult. And so it gets sufficiently good at it, you just do it all right first time, and that takes about 75 seconds. It's sort of completely unsurprising when you watch it.
Just going back to Apple Arcade stuff, we've got an Apple TV, and sort of a lot of the games are available on that. And with the same update that brought Apple Arcade, they opened up compatibility with DualShock and Xbox controllers, and Steam Link is also an app on the Apple TV. And so basically it's like overnight it turned into a fucking viable gaming machine. Like,
so you can play any Steam game?
Any Steam game over
Xbox controller on your Apple TV.
through the network.
Wow.
And it's properly fucking works. It's
amazing. Is there lag or anything?
A little bit. I mean, nothing. So what there was, like we had a crappy Wi-Fi until recently, and I did do some. I've got a Steam bot thingy. What's it called? the Steam boxy thing.
Isn't that the Steam Link?
Steam Link, yeah. And I had that wired in through our home plugs. We live in an old Victorian house, and I don't know how the electricity works in it, and the home plugs definitely are not sure about how electricity works in it. So they'll be totally fine, and everything freezes. It's designed so there is no electricity anymore. But then we got a proper sort of 5G Wi-Fi, and that there was a small amount of lag. The thing is, I played Stadia a couple of weeks beforehand, and it feels better than Stadia did. And I played Doom on Stadia, and that was all right. And then, yeah, I guess it feels good.
That makes sense, right? Because Stadia's like it's literally running on their servers.
Yeah, that's just a game streaming thing from their servers.
Yeah.
So it's definitely faster than that. The one like sort of first world problem with it is that you got to my PC's upstairs, and I've got to remember to switch it on in order to play. Right. That's like
once it's on though, you can you control it from downstairs.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like it just goes to the what's it called, the desktop. That's that secondary interface that it does. Do you know the one? It kind of has a bubbly effects.
Big picture mode.
Big picture mode. Yeah.
Last time I tried Steam Link, I had one of those boxes. I think did I? I was trying to play something in a different room in my house, almost an adjoining room. The only thing between the two rooms is just like a staircase. And I was trying to play Broken Age, a point and click, and the lag was bad enough that I couldn't even do that. It was like, no, I just don't want to do this. I'll just go to a different room.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I think it's about 30, like it'll tell you what the lag is. And like the picture is something like 70 milliseconds, like, and that's kind of from it being generated on the PC and then it appearing on the TV pretty much, and the controller lag is around 30 milliseconds. So it does feel fairly snappy. And in fact, if on a console running at 30 frames a second, you're not much different to that in controller lag, actually.
Yeah. I think my body's lag is well in excess of 30 milliseconds now, so I probably wouldn't even notice it. It's like a good minute before I react to anything again.
Stadia's getting around, like they reckon that they can make Stadia feel like it's better than a console, and it's basically because it'll be mostly because it'll be just predicting what you're going to press.
Look,
and I bet that it like, well, of course you're going to press.
Is it going to predict how bad I am though? That's
it knows. It knows.
I do remember reading something really, I thought was really clever about, I think it was Quake. It was a Carmack thing, where there is, in all games there's input lag, and this bothered him. And so when you fire a rocket launcher in that game, it just if there's 30 milliseconds of lag in the input, then it should have fired 30 milliseconds ago. And so rather than spawning the rocket at the muzzle of the rocket launcher, it figures out where it would have been if you'd fired it 30 milliseconds ago and spawns it there instead. So it's already where it should be. So it travels as if you fired it at the exact moment you press the button.
Yeah.
And that isn't prediction, because until you press the button, nothing happens, obviously. But once it's out there, I mean, that distance.
It's a retrospective prediction.
Yeah.
Correction.
It's like, correction is sort of after the fact. And actually, I mean, dealing with lag is obviously like one of the primary concerns for games like Overwatch and things that forget controllers and displays and stuff, just networking. Like figuring out how to handle that is a huge problem that smart people in the industry are working on all the time and trying to get better. In Overwatch, I can't remember if it was a GDC talk or something, but I remember listening to how they handle networking lag. It might even been like a public sort of one of Jeff Kaplan's like sort of community thing, just talking about they have a philosophy of favor the firer, I think it is, where like whoever is doing the shooting, there are some lag problems where it's just unresolvable. There is no fair way to do it. One person, because of latency, they know they already dodged, and the other person knows the person didn't dodge until the rocket hit them, and there is no way to resolve that will make sense for both players. And in those situations, if they really can't figure it out and there's no other way around it, then they favor the firer. So whoever thinks they hit the target did hit the target.
So yeah, deal with the most frustrated party.
Yeah.
So that's actually something in Stadia's favor, or at least the streaming favor, because if it's all running in streaming server farms, network, like multiplayer games, suddenly all these games are being played right next to each other, like on the same servers. So you don't have, so on one hand, if they're all actually being played in the same server, which you're not going to get actually in reality, because you'll always be playing on a server which is near as close to home as possible.
Right.
And so if you're playing with someone in America, you're still going to have, but if you are playing locally, then, you don't have the lag anymore between clients, because they're all next to each other and wired directly to each other.
That seems like though you're in a situation where like all the computers who live together in San Francisco all agree with each other about what happened, but the players are still like, what the fuck? That wasn't what I thought happened.
But then also because they're all Google owned and they have kind of amazing infrastructure themselves. Like the biggest problem with online gaming is that you can't predict what the lag is going to be. If you know that it's always going to be 30 milliseconds or 100 milliseconds, then you can work around that. Like you can code for it. You can do a CarMac and say, well, we know that the rocket fired 30 milliseconds ago, so therefore that's how far it's traveled. You get much closer to actually predictable latency if with a system like Stadia or any other streaming one. You can imagine that Google, having the infrastructure it has, is probably in the best position for that kind of thing. Or Azure, maybe. But there are many things that I am definitely not very keen on with Stadia. But the technology is actually promising, fucking promising, and fixes a load of shitty stuff about games that we're just used to, or programmers have to spend shitloads of time kind of dealing for and accounting for. Like latency and stuff.
But only if you're making like a Stadia exclusive, right? Because you still have to solve those problems for everyone else if you're not.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, to me, it sounds like it's doomed just for the pricing model.
It's crazy.
Just it's just a very difficult proposition to anybody. You have to pay a subscription fee, then you also have to buy the games. Just, don't think people are going to go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, like that.
And then you don't really own the game still, and.
Yeah, I mean, I think their argument there is actually sort of, well, yeah, fair enough. If you own a digital game on Steam or whatever, you're just as beholden as you are to a Stadia game, because
Steam you can put into offline mode, and
if
you're a doomsday prepper and you do that, you are safe. Like they can't take it away from you after that.
Yeah, how long does that last for though? Is that in perpetuity?
Yeah, I think so. And also not every Steam game does, it's up to the developer whether they want DRM on their game on Steam. I don't think any of my games have it. I think if you just run the executable from the folder, it'll launch Steam if it can, but I think it can still work offline. Anyway, that's the thing you can do.
Yeah. Okay.
Have you played anything else?
Well, yeah, I was going to say I played Noita.
Oh yeah. Or is it Noita or Noita?
Noita.
Noita.
I think it's Finnish. Isn't it?
Let's channel the Finn. Channel the Finn.
Is it Finnish for wand?
A witch, I believe.
A witch.
I believe, yeah. Noita is a really cool roguelike where everything is physics.
Every pixel simulated.
Every pixel. So it's really similar actually to Breakdown. Yeah.
Teardown. Yeah.
Side viewed. It's inspired by those kind of sand simulation kind of toy things, play things that have been around for years and years. So you get all the kind of pooling liquid and kind of piles of sand when you break something, and it all kind of falls through. And it has fire, and it has acid, and it has
whiskey. That's one of the elements whiskey. That you'll just encounter a vast vat of that takes up half a level. Like, oh yeah, that's all whiskey.
Let's see what happens.
What are the properties of whiskey?
Flammable.
And it just goes whoomph. Like coal burns slowly, but just doesn't stop. Whiskey just goes up whoomph like that.
What is the game that they built within this simulated world?
It's a roguelike, so you are going through levels and you are going down to the bottom, and in the bottom of the level there will be a series of teleporters, and you basically have your health gauge to get you through that time. When you go through the teleporter, you go through like interstitial kind of area where you'll recoup your health fully and you'll recharge your wands. The thing that actually pulls you through it are the motherfucking wands, because they are amazing. They are sort of randomized or sort of generated, these wands. And they're made up of a couple of different fundamental components. There's the wand itself, and each wand has a different set of spell slots within it, and then things about charge time and does it just fire off each spell in order of how you put it in the slots, or does it randomize them? How much mana does it hold? That kind of thing. So lots of different kind of variables in the wands. The spells, basically you're programming your wands, really.
Oh, really?
So there's
this is from the Baba Is You developer. So, I mean,
I don't know whether he actually had that much. So he's definitely involved with it at some point, but I don't think he's been that involved with it.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think it is, oh God,
Petri
my memories. Yeah, Petri. Yeah. So he's
Crayon Physics.
Yeah. And one other person. Oh dear. I should really remember all this, but I don't. But yeah, I
feel like I've helped you out with about 7 names so far in this podcast. So I'm letting that one slide.
Basically, you are just, I'm really old. But yeah, so you've got these amazing ones, and you're programming. So there are sort of like purpley kind of lasery ones. When you fire them, a little purple sort of bolt comes out, fast moving. There are you can shoot these kind of almost mines, and they come out reasonably slowly, and then they'll bounce off surfaces, and then eventually they'll pop with a small explosion that will hit anything nearby. There are explosive fireballs. There are grenades that you can shoot out of them, loads of stuff. And then on top of that, there are swells which will put a fiery trail on any spell that you shoot. There are things that will shoot 2 spells at once. There are ones that make each fire more rapidly. There's a spread fire, sort of modifier. So basically, as you travel through the level, you will find generated, ones. You've got 4, you can carry 4 at a time, and you'll come up to one, you'll look at it gingerly, you'll look at the slots, not know quite what it's going to do. You'll try out in as safe an area as you can find what it does, and then discover that it shoots a black hole through the level, exposing you then to some fucking nasty beast, which then comes at you, and then suddenly you've got to hurriedly run away.
There's one that just creates like a hill of sand, basically.
Yeah.
And so if you just fire that directly up, you just suffocate yourself.
So yeah, there may be a sand one. There's definitely one. So there are also perks. So in interstitial areas, you get to choose one of 3 perks. I chose one that turned my blood to, is it kind of plastic or kind of sponge or something? Basically, this pink stuff just starts coming out of me, and I thought, oh, okay,
okay,
fine. I got hit a few times, and then I got trapped down in on the sort of on a surface on the land, and I got attacked by several things, and they were firing at me, and I got buried in my own plastic blood as they kept firing. I was firing out, but it was just sort of not penetrating my own blood.
I always knew that's how.
And then I suffocated and died. That was good. I won't be choosing that one again.
Oh, wow.
What was that, like a curse? Was it meant to be a good thing? Was there an upside to this?
So there is an upside to it in the sense that, oh my God, there's so much to talk about with this game. There's so much going on. So as I said before, like this is like those kind of, sort of substance, falling sands kind of, thank you. And there are lots of different, substances like water and oil and, slime and this weird plasticky stuff.
The plastic thing is, yeah.
So if you're wet, if you've been in some water, it will take longer time to be set on fire because now you're wet. If you're covered in oil, you will go in from flames very, very quickly.
Shorter time to on fire.
And also you're slidey as you're kind of trying to move around and you're slippery. There's, so basically, if you've got that plasticky, spongy stuff on you, you don't go on fire as easily.
Okay.
So
I seem to remember that.
And if you're covered in blood,
yeah,
your crit chance goes up.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
And like, if you douse yourself in blood, you can see the percentage that you're blooded.
Even if it's somebody else's blood?
Oh yeah. Especially if it's someone else's blood.
There
are pools of blood. So basically like, just there's fucking pools of great vats of blood, and kind of like sometimes you just had such a big battle that just everything is now bloody.
And I remember it just being generally good practice, like bathe yourself in the blood of your enemies because it will make you more fire resistant in general. Like,
and it has that effect as well, yeah.
I'm just wet. It's not that it's blood. It's just it's harder than set me lights. I'm soaked.
So so basically you've got this incredible emergent stuff. You have, a jetpack fundamentally. So when you press up on WSAD, and it's very generous. So you're flying most of the time, and it regenerates. It sort of restocks very, very fast when you're on a surface. So you are flying around, trying to avoid getting covered in toxic sludge. That's bad. And acid. That's bad.
Oh yeah.
Trying not to go on fire. That's bad. But you probably will.
Is it quite hard?
Yeah, it's really hard. Well, my first game, I died within probably 45 seconds because I just blundered into a load of enemies. Eventually you learn how, what the threats are. Now I'm mostly being killed by sort of enemies in the sort of second or third area. There are these sniper motherfuckers. They get this kind of targeting beam on you. And you can only see in an unknown area, an area I haven't been in before, you've only got a fairly small radius of sight. So you're just getting shot from stuff off screen. There's a warning. It doesn't feel unfair, but they're the dangerous stuff to me at the moment.
Right.
There are these floating kind of beasts that shoot acid at you. They're bastards. But then, of course, the problem with all this stuff is if they're shooting acid at you, now the surface underneath you is now coated in acid. Yeah. And if you run out of your jetpack, you'll fall into the acid, and then you'll try to take off before it's fully kind of, and death comes quickly, is what I'm saying.
When you completing an area means getting to a portal at the bottom, right?
Yeah,
and then you go to this strange interstitial place that's almost think of it as an Egyptian sort of temple.
Yeah, it is a bit.
And am I right in thinking that's where you can customize your wands?
So in that area, so the wands come with these presets and all the slots that I was talking about and the spells within them. You can then, in that interstitial area, you can take the spells out of the slots and refit them in the way that you wish. There's even a perk that allows you to do that anywhere, which is
nice.
Really good. And because you're getting more wands that you can carry. And so often you're kind of going through areas and you're going, I really like that spell, but it's on a shit wand. And do I take it to the next area just so I can get the spell off it and put it somewhere else? Which is generally, yes, do that.
Do the wands have names yet?
Do they?
When I played it last year, they're all just called wand. And when you looked, at first you're just finding, it's a wand. Oh, it's a wand. And it does this one seems to have some kind of green shit or whatever. And then when you actually got into the stats and you understood what they meant and how they were different, when you read the stats, shit, this is complete. This is a rapid fire shotgun. And the other one is a slow sniper rifle. Yeah. But there was nothing in the name or the presentation that gave them that kind of personality. You had to read it in.
I haven't noticed a name, so I would say no, there are no names. But you're very, part of it is the exploration of what it's going to do. You're kind of what's this? And you kind of, I had a really, really good wand, and I was so angry when I died because this wand was fucking awesome because it had about 6 green shots. Green shots go really quickly and they don't take much mana. They don't do that much damage, but I managed to find a rapid fire thing and a thing that was fired twice as well, slotted them in, and it was just this barrage of death and it was accurate as well. And, that was a fine wand. And because you also, once you've customized it, you also feel that's my wand as well. Yeah, it's really good. And there's so much that could make it terrible because it is totally emergent and so chaotic. But even in the depth, even in the midst of a death where there was a fight somewhere else in the level, the screen shakes, explosions happen off screen because some of the enemies just got into a ruckus and started exploding each other. If that happens above you and sets fire to a sort of a wooden struts, which then end up kind of detaching because they're now, and then falling on your head and setting you on fire, which really wasn't your fault. It's still okay. That's fine. Because you just think, that's
physics.
Yeah.
That's what I signed up for.
It's really, really good. It really deserves it because it's done really well so far. Hasn't it?
It's number 1 on Steam. It's got a shit ton of reviews already. Yeah. I don't know sales figures, but that's usually an indicator. And it seems like it's done amazingly well. Yeah. And there are loads of kind of weird secrets and things going on. There's eggs.
So this might be a bit of spoiler. If you don't want to hear a spoiler,
don't want to know about the eggs.
Just, I don't know.
Just don't think about eggs.
Leave this room.
Give me 45 minutes. 45 seconds, minutes.
Oh my God. I'm not sure I'm ready for this much egg chat.
There is, at the start of the game, like the start of the level, if you go right, that's where the action is. If you go left, you go down a hill, and then you come up against basically what looks like a tree. You can boost up the tree.
I didn't know this.
And there is a branch, like a little bit above, you just keep going up and up and up, and there's a branch sticking out. You've got just enough, rocket juice to get around the branch and onto the top of it, and then there's an egg on top of it. I found other eggs in the level. This egg, if you throw the egg, this horrible kind of sort of insect centipede thing comes out.
Oh God.
And it kind of attacks you, but then scuttles away, and then it might come back, and I've failed to kill it so far. And I don't know what happens if you do. I don't know whether that's a thing. I don't know. Just don't know. There's another in that area. If you come back, give me another few seconds. There's another area at the bottom of that tree. There's some water, and you can bomb the water, and then you can just with your O2 supply get into a little chamber inside it, and there's something else. And then there are these tablets that you can find with kind of story stuff on them. It's a really fully made early access game.
Yeah, so it's just launched in early access, and so it'll be a while before it's complete. I think I'm probably going to wait till it's finished to go back to it, because I'm curious to see how the balance stuff works out. It was pretty hard I don't think it was too hard when I played it, but it felt like it got harder so rapidly that I was almost dispirited about if I get past this, I'm just going to be hit by something twice as difficult. But I was definitely interested in the wand customization stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you can really take your time in it. You don't, it doesn't have a Splunky ghost.
No ghost.
After you at all. So you can take your time, and taking your time really, really does put things on your, and there are always places to escape to. Like the mistake is always to get into a fight. But the problem is that in the interstitial areas there are wands you can buy, and sometimes spells you can buy, and they will cost sort of between 100 and 350, 400 gold. And if you're not picking up much gold, you will never be able to afford that stuff. But you can always...
And you get gold from enemies, right?
Yeah, you get a small amount of gold from enemies. But, the balance there seems about right. The economy seems all right to me. You feel rewarded if you don't, and not completely mullered if you don't. But you can always run away. You can always blast your way through a wall if things are bad. There are always options if you're taking things sort of more steadily. I mean, yeah, but it does get harder further down.
It's just reminded me that there was a Reddit thread recently about what happened to those Falling Sand games, and why isn't there just one on Steam, just some version of that on Steam? Because they saw Noita and they're like, this reminds me, what happened to those? And it mentioned they didn't, as far as I saw, this thread did not lead to anybody finding one on Steam that was sort of a definitive one, but they did mention what is this sort of, I guess, became the sort of de facto Falling Sand type game, which is called Powder Toy. And I think it's released under some kind of, maybe Creative Commons license or some kind of collaborative license where people can kind of add to it. And it's been an ongoing community thing for a long time because it's insanely fully featured. It's still absolutely a sandbox. It's not a game. But it's crazy the stuff they've added to it. And I played around with it, and you can make put down sand and concrete and wood. There's 17 different categories of things, and there will be building materials like brick and concrete and that kind of thing, and then elements like water and fire and various things, and then explosives. Do you want to place TNT or thermite or there's some kind of I don't think it's a real element or anything. It was just a kind of high explosive material, and you place it, and if anything catches light to it, it will blow up violently. And then there's radioactive materials, and then there's electrical elements. So there's a whole almost like Redstone in Minecraft. There's a whole electrical system where you can set up working circuits, and electricity is an element that will pulse through anything. You build any kind of metal stuff, and an electrical current goes through it. You'll see it kind of pulse through as this almost like a sound wave going through the material. And then there's a really slick community integration where you can just sort of press a button and browse creations other people have made. Yeah. I downloaded one. Someone made a nuclear reactor. because there's nuclear materials and they have the physical properties that they have in real life, you're actually able to generate energy from them if you know how to make a nuclear reactor.
Making steam and
this person
turbine.
This person made a nuclear reactor, and you can watch it work, and it's kind of fascinating. Yeah, exactly. It heats up water, and that does create steam, and that does create pressure, and that does create electricity, and all those elements are in there for that to work. And then you, as the player, can just drop some thermite on it. What do I have to break for this to no longer produce electricity? And then what do I have to break for it to really... my knowledge of how a nuclear reactor works comes from Chernobyl, the TV series. And I'm like, what do I have to do to create Chernobyl in this environment?
It sounds like the exactly same pattern as your dad showing you, like, the flight simulator.
It's amazing. And other than like looking at community creations, creating something yourself is actually pretty difficult. It's quite a kind of... There's definitely... I mean, the sandbox thing, for me at least, is you sort of throw some stuff at each other and see if anything happens, and then you sort of settle on to like, oh, the explosive thing is just inherently fun. I should just blow everything up with the explosive thing. And I did find it was fun. If you keep blowing things up, obviously that generates a lot of heat, and different materials have different heat retention properties. And like metal obviously heats up, and that can make things catch fire. But crystal has incredibly high temperature sort of resistance, and that means if you blow up a load of stuff near it, it gets incredibly hot, and it stays incredibly hot for ages. And so ages after you created the explosion, if you put any wood near the crystal, it just fucking bursts into flame. Huh. So it's got such sophisticated physics modeling. And then I kept browsing through this menu, and I found out they also added Conway's Game of Life to it. So for anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's a sort of almost like a theoretical set of rules where you just... To make Conway's Game of Life sort of algorithm, you just write a rule for like, that each pixel is going to run, and you tell each pixel, if you have 3 neighbors that are also, if you just have 3 neighbors, 3 other pixels near you, you should turn yourself off. And if you have less than 3 neighbors, you should turn yourself on. And then that runs on every pixel, and therefore, you can create, it's sort of the ultimate in emergent gameplay, and it's very simple rules, but it creates incredibly complex, results. And it's very easy to make a algorithm in Conway's Game of Life that will kind of go on forever, but will never fall into a obviously repeating pattern, or it will fall into a repeating pattern, but one that moves itself through the space. So these pixels will always be dying, these pixels will always be creating, but as it's doing so, it's progressing across the space. That's called a spaceship in Conway's Game of Life. And actually, like 2 or 3 years ago, or maybe a bit longer, they discovered a new one. And you have to kind of understand what this involves to understand why it's significant, but this was in the 80s or even earlier, I think, that this kind of, thing was developed, and they thought they knew all the spaceships, all the algorithms that would lead to a pattern that progresses across the space, without dying out or endlessly expanding or, going either direction. And then someone just discovered a new one like a couple of years ago. But anyway, those are in there. You can just paint with spaceships. Like there's just a spaceship mode, and they'll just create Conway's Game of Life algorithms that are going to rip themselves in this particular pattern. And there's one called Maze, which just, I don't know what the rules are, but the result is that it creates walls that progress through the space in a semi-random fashion, but they're always 1 pixel apart. So it always creates a path that is then looping back on itself and spreading. And it looks exactly like a maze. Yeah. And that's just a thing that spreads, and it just kind of spreads through pretty much everything. If it hits some metal or whatever, it'll just take it over and it'll just go through it. So it's an incredibly viral substance. You put it down and it'll spread forever. Unlike, like the spaceship one would kind of progress through your space and not necessarily take it over. The maze one just spreads. It doesn't ever destroy itself. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then totally separately from all the Conway's Game of Life stuff, there's a material called virus, which is, bright pink, and that infects other materials. Usually, like if you have fire or something, it's not going to burn through everything in your level. It's going to burn through all the wood and the plants and stuff, and then it'll hit the metal and it'll kind of die out. A virus just, it eats everything. But maze will spread relentlessly. It's one of the most kind of, viral things I've found in the game, and it creates matter. A virus kind of destroys matter. It consumes it, turning it into virus, and then the virus turns into like a gas. And so I ended up creating like Conway's Game of Life maze versus virus. And the virus is infecting the maze, but the maze is constantly growing. And then if you leave it just like that, the virus takes over everything, I think. But the gas that the virus leaves behind turns out to be flammable. I discovered this because I still had some of my super hot crystal lying around the level. And so when the virus gas hit that, it ignited and caused this sort of wave of explosion that caught up to the virus. And the virus is eating through the maze. the maze is spreading into everything that isn't virus. The fire is burning all the virus gas. And this ends up going in like, I couldn't quite get it to go in like an infinite loop, but as long as I had one of those tools ready, I could kind of paint around the level to keep this endless chain reaction going where these things are chasing each other through the level.
Oh my God. There is an electricity thing in Noita.
Oh yeah?
Where, there was a perk I got, which was constantly, I am now, immune to electricity, but I'm pulsing out electricity to any surface I'm touching. I thought, that's probably, I don't know what it's going to do, but it's probably fine. It's not fine. It's not fine at all. I don't know quite how it happened, but I got set on fire because I stood in something, and I think probably electrified water, and I think spark from the electrified water ignited something in the air around me, and I was sort of set on fire, and I died. That was good.
Sounds like the electric phantoms in Prey. There was a perk where you could get a phantom on your side, like it would just resurrect a phantom and it would be a random type. And if you got the electric on, it was like, oh, for fuck's sake. Electric barrier is going to follow me around now and just like, I know you're not trying to electrocute me, but every time you go near an explosive barrel, you automatically detonate it. That makes you much more of a liability than you are an advantage.
Shall we do some questions from questions?
Yeah.
That's a good idea, isn't it? Chris writes, Dear Plate of Fried Chewbacca, in 1977, the Voyager spacecraft set out into the vast expanse of space-time, carrying a golden disc containing sounds and images selected to portray the diversity of life and culture on Earth. Given we now live on a planet with more interactive media, what games would you fly into space to illustrate the story of our planet and humankind? Keep up the lovely pods. Thanks, Chris.
It's kind of easy, isn't it? Right, it's Left 4 Dead 2.
Of course.
More or less how it went down here. How about you guys? What's up with you?
I think I'd send them maybe my own personal Kerbal Space Program playthrough, so that they would never think us an interstellar threat.
No threat. No threat.
I would send them
They'll never get off. They'll never get off that blighted planet. Those little green bug-eyed idiots.
I would send them my powder toy save where an endless maze is creating itself. A virus is eating the maze and a fire is eating the virus.
Yeah. Is there any game which demonstrates humanity's, capacity for wonder and great learning and, etc.?
I mean, if I was going to go
Untitled Goose Game. Wow.
Yeah. Here's more or less what we're dealing with. If you can do anything about the geese, please do.
Yeah. We could certainly subjugate those spongy-looking bipeds, but that white-beaked monster will never land on this planet.
They will assume that the white-beaked monster is the Sendee.
Yeah.
I was about to say something really boring, which is kind of like, well, actually...
Go on, give us your well, actually.
Games are just... Like, no aliens can be able to play a game because they haven't got fingers and stuff.
Yeah.
Or brain stems.
You're hoping to luck out that there is a life form which is similar enough to us that it would understand what a game is.
There are just so many, inherently human things. You could probably send any game and, it would just give, a really big sort of human idea of humanity. Like, Mario, and one is meant to, because you get those AIs that are meant to, learn how to play a game. You give it an Atari game, and this AI works out how to play it, like what is a win state, and how to persevere with it. And I think that there's probably something in analysing that actually tells you what a weird fucking bunch they are. Why would they do this?
It does feel like if they had the sort of skills to understand and interpret it, that they would tell them even more about humanity than sending them a movie would.
Yeah,
you send them Citizen Kane and they learn one thing, but you send them Mario.
They're into sledges. Wow, okay. But they never ride on them. What's all that about?
And the names are so cryptic.
But sort of...
But just the fact that
in
very
any
facts,
game, you get this sort of, there's some sort of hunter-gathererness about this.
Yeah, just the fact that there's a goal and you achieve it and then you move on, that might be alien to them.
Something restless about them, maybe. Yeah. And must be eradicated.
But even,
yes, of course.
Yeah, actually, almost all video games would teach them that we will
attack
any threat, conquer any situation, must dominate, will not tolerate any other power.
Yeah, you wouldn't send them Halo, would you? Or,
half our games are about killing aliens.
Yeah. I mean, but even games like Minecraft, they have internalized a sort of consumerist. Yeah, I mean consumerist in the sense of buying and selling goods, but consumerist is in like just consuming the natural world around you.
The world
for
is
your
there
own
to be exploited.
Yeah, and I think any other alien species would see that as both naive and also slightly disgusting.
Yeah, well, you'd hope.
Well, it is. But
The 4X games are like fucking terrifying.
No, very few of those X's are good. Explorer's all right.
Yeah.
Exploit, exterminate.
let's send them Neptune's Pride.
Oh, it's okay.
At least
everybody.
then they would destroy each other.
Yeah,
and
we
not
don't
us.
need to. We don't need to eradicate them. They'll do it themselves.
Well, I think we've successfully doomed humanity with that question. Jack writes, "Hello, Charlie and Charlie," spelt two different ways. I'm a second-year philosophy major in the US. Despite this grievous defect, I still enjoy things that good, normal people enjoy, such as the Mass Effect series. Imagine my surprise when, sitting in a modern political philosophy lecture on Hobbes's Leviathan, I leapt to the realization the Mass Effect rips concept after concept from Leviathan when it comes to the Reapers and the Geth. I'm sure this might not be news to some of you, but it certainly was to me. The more I thought about it, the more I became certain that the parallels I was seeing were more than mere coincidences, and that Mass Effect's lore, in the original game especially, is built to reflect Hobbes's ideas. This in turn made me annoyed, since the majority of videos I've seen on Mass Effect are surface-level plot analysis or attempting to shit on / justify Mass Effect 3's ending. Until I typed Mass Effect Hobbes Leviathan, I couldn't find any material that backed my original suspicion. So my question is this. I realise no one likes it when a writer bashes you over the head with how smart they are, but it's clear that a lot of people who make games have more going on in their narratives than just trying to tell a bare-bones story. Why is it then that popular game analysis generally avoids talking about subtext and themes that add coherence and flesh out a game world, and instead focuses on finding things to shit on? Also, is there any way that the gap between developers putting interesting ideas into their games and players experiencing games primarily as objects of easy entertainment could be closed or diminished? Thanks, and all the best, Jack.
I think there's no great mystery to why, like, a review in PC Gamer doesn't mention this stuff. Obviously, a primary cause would be the reviewer not knowing that Hobbes is Leviathan. I did study philosophy. I don't know Hobbes is Leviathan. So I didn't pick up on that. And I did review 2 of the 3 Mass Effect games. But even if I did, I probably wouldn't mention it because I'm writing the review for the reader, and the reader is, by and large, probably won't know Hobbes Leviathan. And so what do they gain? I could explain to them, and I could explain how this thing references it to it, but at the end of the day, do they understand more about it than if they didn't know it references thing, or less? And in particular, do they understand more about whether they'll like the game or not? Like, if you say, well, this is really like Hobbes Leviathan meets Halo. Well, I know Halo. I'm still nonplussed about the other thing. And so in order to use that reference point, I would have to explain Hobbes Leviathan, which I don't know. Like I say, I don't know it, so I can't say how much word count that would take up, but I'm sure it wouldn't be worth it.
There's also, like, you know, for this particular reference, like, you have to go into spoiler territory, and like games like most other popular culture are massively in spoiler culture, where you can't talk about this stuff because people will complain that you're blowing the story for them, which is legitimate, illegitimate. I don't know. I'm not going to judge that, but it's like that is the case. You can't talk about it freely.
What was Edge's, like, extra section for, like, when you review a game, you could have an extra section where you just talk about one particular theme or concept and go deep on it, where
that was a space, and we did talk about, we did talk about spoilers. We did.
What was that
spoilers.
Called? Afterward or something?
I can't remember.
I can't believe it, you two.
Extra Life is going to be some sort of game thing.
That's PC Gamer's thing, Extra Life.
Yeah.
That's true, yeah.
Oh my
that was
God.
my
What was
section,
it
Extra
called?
Life.
But like, there is space in some, but then often with the game, I don't know.
But there are YouTubers out there who do dig into the deep lore of these things and extrapolate somewhat tenuous connections between things. I mean, I've done that. But I don't know that this is a market that's underserved. Maybe not by reviews for the reasons that you say, Tom. But I mean, I'm pretty sure there's theorizing out there about game lore in general.
Yeah.
I just wonder if I think his second question is probably the kind of more interesting of the two, about how how you go about putting interesting ideas into things which are going to be consumed as entertainment, because you need to get over the idea that people aren't necessarily going to engage with this stuff directly. And then how do you seed your entertainment product with these ideas when people are just going to be, you know, spinning around on a tabletop while a cutscene plays, which is, you know, what I do.
I think the way I see it is like, is there, if you're taking some, you know, celebrated literary work and you want to work something from that into your game, it's not a question of like, how do I make sure people appreciate I've done this? It's, what am I trying to extract from this greater work? You know, you're always standing on the shoulders of giants when you're writing anything. If you've ever read anything, you are strongly influenced by your set of experiences. But I don't think there's any value in just sort of pointing to other stuff and just saying, look, we touched on this.
Here's
it's a bit like this.
Yeah.
Therefore we get credit. I think you have to say, what does this work do that is valuable to me and that will be clear to my players? Yeah. And if it's not clear to my players, you failed. Like, there was no point in referencing it.
Right. I think Mass Effect does a job of kind of exploring, I mean, maybe not the extent that like a literal philosophical treatise does, but I mean, it does a job of exploring different ways of organizing your society, right? In as much as whatever the insectoid species have, like a communal psyche or whatever. And that is obviously different from democracy, you know? I actually don't know how
insects will organize their societies.
Well, no, I don't know how Leviathan fits into the Geth.
Isn't the main Reaper called Leviathan?
Yeah, but also, I can't remember, but aren't the Reapers just like I've actually forgotten. I actually remember more about Leviathan than I do about Mass Effect.
Wait, Alex, do you also know Leviathan?
I don't know either of these things. Okay. I'm bored to hell of Mass Effect.
I think I remember most of Mass Effect stuff, so maybe together we can figure it out.
Okay. Well, how are either the Geth or the Reapers organized?
The Reapers were...
They meet every Thursday.
Every millennial Thursday. It's a long period of time, but when they do, they reap all of the organic life and destroy it all, and they can reboot the whole system because organic life is always going to get out of control.
They reap and then they sow.
So you could say that. And then they created the Protheans, and the Protheans led to all the modern races.
Right.
And then the Geth... I can't quite remember what the Geth's relationship to the Reapers is. But I know the Geth are pals. They're just good pals. Nothing romantic going on, but they are good pals.
Yeah.
The Geth are like a replicating AI race, right? And they...
Yeah, I don't think there's anything in Hobbes' Leviathan about replicating AI.
I think we need more from the questioner.
Yeah. I think
Hobbes didn't do sci-fi. Did he? What did he? Was it? I don't even know. Is it about whales? Is it about whales?
No, it's...
Are the Reapers of whales?
Basically,
they do look like
yes, the Reapers
are they do, whales. Yeah, I suppose they do.
No, it's about how, I mean, it sort of shores up the kingship, basically, or like, at least,
okay.
It's about having a single strong body organizing the rest of your society.
Got it.
Basically.
Right.
So I don't understand how that works out with.
I think there's a bit of a. I think one can be carried away by being impressed that a work in one medium references a work in another, or like a celebrated work in another, and suddenly that's great.
E.g. Brave.
Well, you know,
yes, yeah.
Whoop-de-doo. Like so Mass Effect. The book, which everybody still talks about for some reason.
Alex has had it with both of these things.
Or doesn't. Leviathan. Like, there's a bit of me that goes, okay, okay.
Yeah, no,
like, and you know, sort of, and like, yeah, it's good that people will learn it, and maybe people will learn off it, and that's fine, but it doesn't gain legitimacy for anything, really. And I think, you know, this is only going to come out in the story aspects of games. Like, you know, as you were referencing earlier on, the way that games like Minecraft and things that like are tales about consumerism and about humans, and like, you know, and there's much more to be explored in those kinds of things in games. You know, let's be more impressed by that kind of thing. And there are lots of games that handle big themes in mechanics and in their existentialness nature.
To some extent, I feel like as a developer, the advantage of being well read, which I'm not, is not to reference those things, but to avoid them. Like the worst sort of fuck up from not being well read is just to repeat the message of some other thing without realizing you're doing it. And thinking, I'm making this super original point that fucking Shakespeare made. But I didn't read that particular play. So, so I'm like, with Wizards, I'm hoovering up all urban fantasy I can find and anything about like fantasy shit in modern day just to make sure we're not exactly repeating someone else's work.
Yeah, I think whatever you do in games needs to be illustrative of the ideas you're employing, rather than just reproducing those ideas as a sort of look what books I've read sort of thing. I think Mass Effect does do that to some extent because
it certainly
it's a
doesn't
sci-fi
feel
thing.
like it.
Because
it feels like any sci-fi thing. Like any good sci-fi does big picture cultural.
These creatures are different to us. How would they organize their society? Is an interesting question.
And that's why I'm just totally unimpressed by it, because it's like, of course, it it would be shit if it didn't. Turn the page.
Okay. Turn the page. Thanks, Jack, though, for that question.
I've had some whiskey now, so I'm kind of, I'm a bit sleepy and a bit punchy. It's a bad combination.
Noel honks. If you were a villager in the Goose game, what would the goose most want to steal from you?
Since I mentioned it earlier tonight, my bathrobe is my prized possession.
I knew it'd be his bathrobe.
I don't know if you've never had I asked this for my birthday one year because every time I'm in a hotel and there's a big towely bathrobe, I realize, fuck, this is amazing. I just get out of the shower, put this on, and the drying just happens. I don't need to perform any further actions. Just go about my day and I will be dry soon. And there are so few jobs in life where you can just wear a garment that does the job for you. This is one of them. So anyway, I've taken this. I don't take it on every trip I go on, but if I'm away for more than about 2 weeks, I'll probably take my enormous fucking butt. And it's thick and it's dense and it's bulky, and so it's a whole fucking suitcase unto itself. Yeah. But I took it to Sweden and I took it to Seattle.
Did you? So when you wash it, does it take a long time to dry?
No, it's just a normal dryer cycle.
Okay. Oh, that's good. That's good, because I'm wondering.
It's a wash unto itself. I wouldn't put anything else in with it.
If the goose gets it and then dunks it in a pond, you're going to get really fucked off.
What kind of physics nightmare is the goose going to experience by trying to pull this large object?
It's long and it's made of towely cloth, so it's slightly inconvenient to drag around. Actually, I think it would be quite easy to get it back from the goose, because I think you just step on any part of it and the goose really can't get it out from you. And if you're wearing it, I don't think the goose could get it off you.
Goose-proof.
It's
always wear goose-proof night garments.
I mean, goose-proof is a strong claim. I can't back that up. But goose-resistant, perhaps. Goose-resistant to a depth of 30 meters.
So goose-resistant, that would be sort of convex sort of surfaces, glossy, convex, basically wearing glass kind of clothes, in case everything in glass
no beak
falls.
Can penetrate my night garment.
Actually,
Gooses can't.
If I was in the Goose game as an NPC, I bet the objective wouldn't be to steal my whole bathrobe, because it'd be too difficult. It would be to steal the belt thread thing, that goes through the loops.
Oh, right.
Because that, even when I'm wearing it, a goose could easily get at that.
You chase after him, and then your bathrobe would
exactly.
And the police would arrest you.
It wasn't my fault.
Get Tom arrested for indecent exposure. And in a small village like that, indecent exposure threshold is very low.
Do you have any items a little cheeky goose beak could purloin?
All of my items. But
really? They're all goose beak sized, are they?
No, the thing is, no goose can beat the unending horror that is our rabbit. So,
Could the goose steal your rabbit?
Actually, yes, but that would probably do us a favour.
Net win.
They just go together in this little sort of hooligan gang. Our rabbit, he lives in our house. His name is Archie. He's small and he's brown, and he has chewed through most of the wires in the house at some point.
But still not killed himself somehow.
Yeah,
really well insulated teeth.
Yeah, he's gone through mains cables and cables that attach to the normal plugs, and no problem. No problem. So no goose can live up to him.
Maybe we should give him Noita to play and then just plow through that.
Yeah. He's shown no interest in video games at all for some reason.
Really?
So I think the goose's objective would be to let your rabbit out, unleash the rabbit when you're not home to make the cables be chewed.
That's exactly it.
That's the nightmare scenario.
And
We're all revealing our weakest points
all of
here.
my favourite things in the house no longer work.
Yeah. I didn't, I moved countries and I didn't bring anything back with me really. So there's very little precious things that the Goose could steal from me. See, that's the real Goose insulation. Not having anything that a Goose would think worth stealing.
What about
Gooseulation.
the amp thing that we're recording this very podcast with? There are all sorts of dials and plugs on that the Goose can interfere with.
That's true. That's technically Crate and Crowbars though, rather than mine specifically.
Okay, what about while Crate and Crowbar is recording a podcast, turn the volume down on one of the mics?
That would be the worst.
Go again.
V asks, what are your favourite games that taught you something real about our own world, or motivated you to look up stuff?
Oh, I know. Yeah, I've been playing Magic the Gathering Arena.
Oh yeah, what's that taught you about our world?
It taught me to look up Magic the Gathering cards.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that figures. Magic the Gathering is, for better or worse, the thing in our world.
Every time I play Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I think, I should go to Greece. But I don't. Specifically, every time I go to Mykonos in that game, I endlessly sing the Fleet Foxes.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
You were there, Mykonos. I just on a loop, non-stop. I never get tired of it. I never stop. 100% of the time. Even all the time I'm on Mykonos, I'm singing it endlessly. And even if I'm just looking at the map anywhere within range of Mykonos, that Mykonos is on the map, I'm singing Mykonos 100% of the time. Which leads me to believe if I actually went to Mykonos, it would be hell.
Yeah, it's just like, oh god.
Shut up, Tom. It's a good song, but
it's weird actually. I actually came across, I haven't actually been to it yet, but I have a cultist on Mykonos and I haven't been to it yet because I'm too under level. And I only noticed this the other day and I sang to myself the Mykonos song.
Because I have it in my head so much, when I'm playing the game, I'll load it up on Spotify and just listen to it, thinking that it'll get it out of my system. And after I hear the actual full song, that will get it out. Nope. I'll just listen to that one song on a loop for 15 minutes.
But really,
I don't know anything about Mykonos.
No game has inspired you to create.
What about you? You're delivering all the questions.
Exactly.
Come on. View.
Oh you would. God, no, I don't think I've ever
you know it all.
Anything.
You think you know it all already.
Questioner, answer thyself.
Oh no. No. No, I am sure lots of games have made me look up stuff, right?
Yeah, like when you were playing Crisis, you looked up suits.
What about them suits, huh? Those thrill?
Yeah, I learned Korean actually as a result of playing Crisis. Just
You could argue that the time I took an archery lesson was half inspired by things like Skyrim and Horizon Zero Dawn. If the games make bows look cool, then it turns out they really are cool.
It is. No, actually, I think. I mean, you mentioned Assassin's Creed, and obviously the Assassin's Creed games aren't really bastions of historical learning.
They've got a history mode though. They've got a history mode.
But I mean, even before they implemented the history mode, I was looking things up as a result of those games to sort of check the veracity. And it's one of my favourite things to do with any kind of historical drama is to listen to it and then look up phrases that appear in that drama and see if they actually existed at the time. Ripper Street is one of my, was I mean, it's not a very good show, but it was a goldmine for looking up etymology of words to see if they were in fact parlance at the time. And it was surprising how many of them in fact were.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Because Deadwood's stuff isn't very of the time at all, is it?
No.
Although it feels like it probably maybe it was to our stupid ears.
No, it's designed to have a sort of, Deadwood is one of the most interesting, linguistic exercises in any drama ever, because it's designed to sound sort of oldie-worldy. But in fact, they're actually using language which would never have been used. None of the swear words they would have used at that time would have been anything like as coarse or as precise as the ones that they're used in that show. And yet it has a sort of oldie-worldy veracity because of the weird sort of
rhythms, isn't it? You say fucking as if it's a new word in their mouths or something.
Yeah, but it's also that everything they say is just so sort of a roundabout.
Yeah.
You know, it's nothing. Nobody says anything outright. They sort of wind their way around every single thing that they say, and it's beautiful. It is the most Shakespearean piece of dialogue that has existed since Shakespeare. I think I love that show so much.
Did you see the movie?
Yes.
Is that any good?
Yeah.
I mean, it is as
It's a bit
good.
of a fans. Oh, it's like a
What?
fan work to me. It's like, it's just like
Yeah.
this fan frotting.
Yeah. I think it's as good as it could be within a time frame. Like, I mean, there's no way that they could have tied that thing up in a bow within an hour and a half.
Yeah, so don't.
And yeah, well, there's an
That
argument
was
for that.
that was how what I thought about
But at
it.
the same time, I did feel like I needed closure, and in a weird way.
The thing is, oh no, it reopened it because like I'd sort of enough time had gone by that I was sort of like, okay, let it lie.
Yeah,
and then
right.
this comes back in, and I found it so like
The wound hadn't exactly scabbed over.
it hadn't
but it
scabbed
was,
over. But this fucking got it
you'd
right
forgotten
back
how much
open
it
again.
itched.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel, but in a strange way, I could sort of use my imagination to think how that fiction would have played across a season and how satisfied I would have been. You know, it's a weird piece of sort of mental gymnastics you're doing there, where you're being unsatisfied by a product, but imagining it in its true form and being satisfied by that somehow.
Yeah, fair enough.
But it is, that show is definitely, I think that eventually overtook The Wire as my favourite piece of prestige drama over the last 2 decades now. I don't know when it started, actually.
Yeah, I can't remember.
It was interesting how, around, like, shortly after Origins launched, there was some new discovery about a pyramid, that was actually backed up by how Origins models the interior. There's an interior of a pyramid in Origins where it wasn't actually known what the interior was like back in the day. But the people who designed it at Ubisoft went off a theory somebody had that was unconfirmed. And then after Origins was released, it was confirmed, and they got to look really prescient because the way they modeled it in game turned out to be completely true.
That's awesome.
So the way that it was, everything was very, very codified number of blocks, which were exactly your jump height and the little slidey bit that you go under, which is the same height.
It turns out, all the cool bits are behind some urns that you break, and then you get to do a power slide underneath to get to the cool treasure.
And then, you have to then slide the box things made out
And
of
actually,
bamboo.
until they played Assassin's Creed, our archaeologists never thought to do a power slide under the walls. But now they're into all the secret bits.
They had to throw so many torches at so many snakes. But eventually, actually, I tell you a game that genuinely did. So actually, it was as a result of the discussion on the Crate and Crowbar podcast that you may have heard of about Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Oh, yeah.
About the veracity of that game. I because I have some familiarity with medieval Europe of that period, but not specifically Bohemia, that I started looking up about that. And I discovered that, to my surprise, King Wenceslas was a famous Bohemian king. I didn't realize he was a famous Bohemian king, but also he was one of the only people to defend themselves successfully against the Mongolians.
Oh, really?
Because as a result of your discussion, I was like, well, Bohemia could not have possibly, at that time, withstood the Mongolian horde. So they would have been familiar with outsiders as a result of that. But it turns out they did withstand the Mongolian horde as a result of King Wenceslas, who first looked out on the Feast of Stephen and then got his snap conked by a snowball, as everybody remembers from the famous song.
Do you know how he likes his pizza?
No. How does he like his pizza, Tom?
Have you heard this joke?
What's the punchline?
Deep pan, crisp and even.
Excellent.
But yeah, so that's a game that through its controversiality required me to look up and challenge my own knowledge about the medieval period. So there you go. It did some good.
Yeah, that's actually true. Back to Assassin's Creed. The Assassin's Creed 2 and the Florence and things was, that was a...
I had no idea that Leonardo da Vinci created hidden blades for assassins. Gotta look that up.
Yeah.
So our final question, Via Serif wrote, I've been playing Anno again, so how far along the aesthetics versus pragmatism scale are you all when you play games? For example, I use grids for Anno 1800, but they're 10 by 10 grids so that houses don't pack in perfectly and there's an opportunity to do a little asymmetrical blocks with trees and ornamental bushes in them. Are there certain games that are exceptions to your place on that scale?
I remember playing Islanders recently, and that's a game where like adjacency really matters, and if you put a house within range of a mansion, it gets some kind of bonus or something. But it's not strictly grid based. It's kind of a little bit pixel perfect. And, figuring out how to sort of cluster houses around a mansion in such a way that it gets maximum benefit is a part of the challenge of the game. But I also felt obliged to do it in the prettiest way. And if there was a spot where this is probably optimal for packing efficiency, but it kind of looks dumb. Or parks as well. If you replace a park, that's obviously a boost to all the houses around it. But placing them in a way that the houses arrange around it in a really neat fashion was difficult. And so I think I would say that I was about 80% mechanics and 20% aesthetics in that thing. Like, if it's going to really screw me, I'll just do the ugly thing. But if it's a question of like, I'll lose a little bit of the optimal benefit from this, but it looks way nicer, I'll do that.
I think I start with the idea of being aesthetic, but then I think I have this probably naive belief that there is aesthetic sort of quality in efficiency, and I'm thinking about like starting a city in City Skylines or something like that, where you start designing the road and like, surely an efficient road system is also beautiful. And then I start doing that, fuck up somewhere down the line, and then adapt to a rapidly chaotic situation, and end up in just aesthetic hellhole land.
Yeah.
Which I think is, my approach. I think we could probably extend it to stuff like, sort of fashion soulsy stuff where do you look good or you play good? And I think that I start off trying to look good and then end up looking like a raggedy man just so I can survive.
Yeah, I think it's a really tough conflict for me. I always feel like horribly divided along these lines. But then ultimately I get to a point where I probably satisfied the requirements of min-maxing at one level, and then if I've achieved some kind of aesthetic plateau at that point, that I don't ever change it. So I achieve some kind of compromise, and then I'm happy with that for the rest of the game, even if that doesn't actually ever match my standards of aesthetics or the game's demands. Yeah.
With Assassin's Creed Odyssey, they introduced a sort of transmogrify kind of thing where you can take a piece of equipment and just match it to the appearance of, I think it's any piece you've ever found. So it doesn't have to be currently in inventory, but you do have to have discovered it at some point. Whatever you discovered, that's the palette of things you can change the appearance of your current equipment to. And there's a particular kind of, I can't remember if it's a property of like the arm guards or of the breastplate, but when you equip this, Cassandra has her arms are kind of wrapped in like black bandages where the edges of the bandages are gold, and it looks fucking awesome. And so I have 3 different outfits, like one's assassin, one's warrior, and one's hunter. But every one of them has to have like that element of it in there, because it just looks so good. It looks good with like a sort of sleek, stealthy outfit where you're just trying to go for minimal like silhouette. And then it also looks good with like massive ornate shoulder pads for the warrior type builds. I
feel a bit sort of odd because I'm at that difficult point in Destiny where it's the start of a big, very, it's the very bottom of a very, very sharp sort of leveling cliff, because it's the start of an expansion, which means that you're picking up even the crappy blue stuff, like the shittest drops, and there is no point trying to use those to boost up the power of your good stuff, your nice looking stuff, because you'll get something else, and it costs a lot of resources to boost up stuff, it's transmogrify. Well, it's not really transmogrify, but it basically means you upgrade your stuff, so that it's as high level as you can get it. But yeah, there's no point doing it because your level's going up quite quickly, going 10, 15, 20 in a short session, and which means I look awful all the time. And you do see yourself more than in modern Destiny than you used to. Like, you always see yourself on the pause screen that I was on about earlier on, but like there is cutscenes and things now, more of them, and it's just awful. And I'm now at the stage where, like, not only is it an aesthetic thing, but I've had to drop my gun, my nice guns, because these shit guns I picked up are better.
Well, that's
I've got to
sad,
live with them until something nice comes along.
It's always really depressing in a game where you've got some kind of special. This happened to me in Divinity, where you can get unique or like epic items early in the game, and they have all this kind of elaborate lore around them.
Yeah.
And then you get you get up a level, and then you get that level's common item, and it's way better. And the description is like, only a piece of shit would pick up this weapon, you twat. And you're like, yeah, but it's going to kill things, whereas the other one doesn't anymore.
That tension, I really hate it. I hate it. And it makes no sense, and it's really depressing. Like, it's almost it's almost
depressing.
a jab in the eye for leveling up. Someone has got to fix this. Has it been fixed, Tom? Has anyone fixed it? If not, could you fix it?
You should make all your items in Wizards really insulting, like dumbasses, swords. I know you don't have swords, whatever.
Censor.
We had them in Heatsig.
Were any of them dumbasses?
No.
Dumbasses swords?
Not that I can remember. There were some jokes about like why weapons were created, like the grenade launcher shotgun. You got a little bit of dialogue from when that was invented.
Yeah.
We didn't do leveled weapons really, and I probably won't with Wizards either, so it probably won't come up. But it doesn't seem like that difficult a problem to solve, like to don't make high level mundane shit.
But you're going through it from like, in Odyssey, you're picking up like legendary grade stuff, at level 5. And then, half an hour later, like, fuck that shit.
Yeah, I mean, what does that even mean? Like, was that a legend for just people who are rubbish in the world? Legendary for farmers, but otherwise not legendary at all.
When Odysseus was a baby.
Yeah.
Stupid.
That's what I find fascinating in like Assassin's Creed is you find a special weapon. You actually, I don't know what I bought to get this, but for some reason I have a bunch of special items just delivered to my character when I start, like at some level 5 sort of unique weapons, like the Sword of Dusk and the Shroud of Dusk and all this other stuff, which you can never get rid of. You're not ever allowed to dismantle them or sell them, because it's like, I don't know, you pay money for this, I guess. I didn't, not knowingly, but.
Is that, I've got a few of those and I just don't know what
it might be like for buying, at launch or something, or digital edition, or you can almost not avoid bonuses, even if you don't want them. Well, however you buy, you get some kind of perk for it. But those things, I've completely forgotten what I was going to say. How did I start the sentence? You can't sell them, you can't dismantle them. That's annoying.
Yeah.
Do I have another point? Does anybody know?
It's bad.
It's bad. True. Also true.
I sometimes worry about like so like at Bungie or Ubisoft or whatever, like someone still has to make the shit stuff, right? Like in terms of sheer objects like creation, there's lots of effort that goes into them.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody just trashes them. Like there must be loads of kind of blue level and even below grade stuff in Destiny that I've literally never seen because I immediately trash it for the materials.
Oh, that'd be a good question to ask like a Bungie asset maker. What was the most beautiful weapon that the designers decided to turn into absolute garbage?
And like some of them got this sort of rust effects on them, like presumably to show that it's rubbish. Like someone really worked on that crap.
The thing I wonder about, the thing I was going to say was, in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, like there are regions have a level. And so you start off in like a, level 1 to 5 region, and that's when you get your Sword of Dusk or whatever. And in that region, the guards are level 5, and so are like the farmers and the shopkeepers and everyone else. And then if you go to like a level 45 region, the farmers level 45 and they won't fight you, but if they wanted to, couldn't they completely kick your ass? And couldn't like the 6-year-old kid in that village, that's a level 45 6-year-old kid.
They could invade the rest of of Greece. They could just like take over.
I think one level 45 6-year-old could destroy the entire village that you started.
They'd never have the damage output like just people on Kefalonia or whatever it is.
Even if their raw damage like output would eventually whittle down their HP, I think there's also like a modifier where like if someone's more than 10 levels above you, just do 0% damage.
If this secret got out, like it would completely change the power dynamic of ancient Greece. Read that and weep, Thomas Hobbes.
Put that in your Leviathan and smoke it.
Anyway, those are all the questions that we have time for. If you'd like to send us a question, you can do so at questions@creatingcrowbar.com, or you can tweet us a question at creatingcrowbar. Thanks to all of our Patreon backers. You can get to our Patreon account at patreon.com/creatingcrowbar, or you can watch, well, I mean, you can listen to this entire episode on YouTube. I mean, you can watch it as well, but it's pretty not that interesting. It's just a static picture on youtube.com/creatingcrowbar, and you can join our Discord community, which is linked on our website, creatingcrowbar.com.
.net. i.e. .net.
No, not .net. That might take you to some hacker site. Don't do that. I'm at Marsh Davis on the Twitters. Who are you, Tom?
I'm at Pentadect, P-E-N-T-A-D-A-Z-D.
I'm at Rotational.
Not gonna spell that?
Well, you didn't spell yours. Why should I?
Mine's obvious.
I think yours is actually less obvious than Rotational.
It's true.
Yeah.
I was bluffing. But I won't spell it. So there. Anyway.
Do you know, is there a Twitter account at Marsh Davis?
Oh, I don't know.
I think that's how people will get it wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Someone's posing as you, mate.
Maybe I should pronounce it Davies.
Davies.
But I won't.
Is there a reason?
Is there a reason I won't?
Yeah.
It's 'cause
Is it because of, like, your culture?
yes, that's right. Yeah.
It is generally true that the Welsh surname that looks like Davies in letters is pronounced Davis, right, in general.
Yeah, in Wales. I mean, I'd
He's not Welsh.
I don't like this, the way this podcast is ended. I'm just going to say goodbye now and hope it stops.
Thanks, everybody.